Everybody, welcome. I'm sure there's going to be many more people who later go back and watch this little chat we're having with a few leaders. But the main reason we decided to hold this today was just for everybody to get an opportunity for Chad to kind of share some wisdom and some of the thoughts that he's been sharing with me. And I said, man, I think more people need to hear these. So he's got a few ideas and a few concepts that have been working well as he's growing his network. I know they're either approaching or getting real close to 5,000 people in their network, and it's really starting to take off. He's got several different groups outside of our organization that are really starting to pick up speed. So, Chad, how are you, buddy? Welcome to Google Hangout, our first try at this, bro.
Man, this is cool. I've been just in the last few weeks and whatever. It just started to hear about it. I've seen lots of leaders, lots of people doing Google Hangouts. So I'm loving it. I'm glad you put it together. I know this is our first run at it, and we're working out the kinks, but it's good, man. I'm excited. I appreciate being able to get together with a few of you guys, and I'd love to hear from you all as well. You know, I'll share a few things that I think are working, that I've seen that are you know, we're having success, but it's good, man. I'm really happy to be here, man, and I'm excited. Jason, obviously, I know you. We've met. Orlando, I don't know, and Marty, who's not on yet. I actually had breakfast with him yesterday, and we talked about some good things. So, to all of the folks that are going to watch this replay, that's what's so great about this, right? It's recorded straight to YouTube, and then it can be archived for as long as people want to see it. So, I believe this right here is going to be a really key tool in really, you know, helping people connect, just like this. So I love it.
Well, let me do this then, Chad. Let me just ask you a couple of questions. I know that you originally got to meet with Stacy Wallace, her husband Larry. Jose Miranda selected you as one of his 12 in pre-launch, and I think that was back in May. So you had about, let's say, May, June, July, August. You had about 4 months in pre-launch, and now we've had about 5 months after launch. So if you count, you know, the entire time from the first day you ever heard about Solavei, we're looking at about 9 months. And my question to you is, what originally got you involved in Solavei? And what keeps you so involved in Solavei today? Let's start with those two questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's those are great places to begin with anybody. So, yeah, perfect question. So let's start at the beginning. When I got approached about Solavei, and now can you hear me? Because Ryan, you're still talking. I'm seeing your mouth move. Can you guys hear me fine?
We can hear you great.
Okay. Maybe the video's probably a bit delayed or something like that. So good. So when I got approached with Solavei, they didn't approach me. They approached my wife. Jose did, and Jose Miranda, which many of you know, is one of the two people now, along with Stacy Wallace, who are at the top earning level, which is the executive 3, and he's now there. He approached my wife, talked about this company in NDA process, which meant that you couldn't even talk about what the company was at the time. And I didn't want to have anything to do with it. You know, it was not, I had my preconceived ideas about it. I had my impressions of whatever it was. And the funny thing, the strange thing was that what I've done from my background before joining with Solavei, and I still do, is personal growth and leadership training seminars for people in the networking world, in the corporate world, but also in networking. So I knew the industry, but I wasn't a part of it. And, you know, long story short, I sat down with Stacy, and I didn't know who she was. And the only reason I did was really because my wife said, you know, I think you should go listen. And, you know, I said, hey, if you think so, then I will. So I sat down, had a good conversation with them, and it probably took a week or so for me to really grab hold of the idea. I mean, I got that $50, $49 was inexpensive, but you know, I wasn't a big fan of not using the iPhone. I mean, I had the standard objections that, you know, that kind of everybody has or had, and you know, so it wasn't really exciting to me to go, well, what am I going to save? 20 bucks, 30 bucks, and we started adding it up for our family. We figured out for $120 a month we could save, so that was good. But then it just all of a sudden, I can't remember the exact moment, but it just went off and it went, you know, this could really grow a network of people. And the thing that got me was, look, everybody knows this, but this is what sold me. You don't have to sell vitamins, shakes, whatever, makeup, all the other things. And look, I know people. Ryan, I talked to you last week. I was talking to a guy the other day that was, you know, he told me he made $518,000 last year. He knew exactly. And he's in a nutraceutical company, right? I mean, great company. He's doing it. So my point is, I know people make money doing it. I get it. But the thing that's so significant is you don't have to convince anybody to pay their bill. And I'm not telling any of you anything that you don't know. Jason, you know that. Orlando, Ryan, everybody that's watching this, you get it. But that simplicity of it just hit me. It was like, wait a second. I'm not going to have to re-enroll any of these people. A huge 80, 90% or whatever are going to stay once they have it. You know, I was talking to Marty Hill yesterday, and I was talking to him about the new Google phone that I got. I got the Nexus 4, and by the way, I love it. I would highly recommend it for anybody for $299. I know, Ryan, you've got one. I now feel like I've got a phone that I feel like I'm not sacrificing, and that's a really big deal. For a while, I had the HTC One, and I had different phones, and I felt like I was sacrificing. I don't know if you guys did, but it was like iPhone, okay, I'll do it, but I'm, you know, if they're going to pay me $1,000 or $5,000 a month or whatever, then I'll sacrifice. I'm not sacrificing anymore. This phone is, and this isn't, I don't know that this is necessarily going to drive your business, but I'll just say it, right? This phone to me is a total game changer. It's carrier unlocked. It's $200. It's half the price of what it should be with all the other phones, and it is every bit as good. I think it's better, to be honest. And if you read the reviews, most people believe it's better than the Galaxy 3. It's just phenomenal. So I sat there at breakfast yesterday, and I went, you know, if somebody came to me today and said, listen, would you switch to Solavei just for the service? Would you switch from your AT&T iPhone to the Google with Solavei? And oh, by the way, it is cheaper with the Google with Solavei. This is as good or better of an experience. So for me, that's a really big deal now, I think, because now it's not about sacrificing for Solavei. I mean, I hate that. I mean, and I did it. And some people are like, well, I'll sacrifice. Dude, I don't think people have to sacrifice now. I really don't. I think what people now with these options, and look, we're what, 4 or 5 months into launch. We had 3 months, I think, in pre-launch. But now, man, you go to somebody, you know, white collar, somebody that, you know, they really, technology is important to them. Dude, you offer them this phone with this service. Dude, there's not a, I mean, there's a little bit of an educational process around iTunes versus Google Play, stuff like that. And I know you guys didn't necessarily tune in for that part of it, but I'm just telling you, for any of your higher end, for any of the techie people, you get this in their hands with Solavei chip in it, dude, there's no sacrifice. And it's a pretty cool deal. So what I did initially was I heard about it and I thought of a few key people, Ryan Lelf being one of them, that I went, wow. Well, I know Ryan is a networker. I knew what he had done before, and I knew there were certain people that I was like, I got to talk to these people. And so I think that's the key point that Ryan and I talk about often is we can, like, initially, at the beginning, it was like, it wasn't about pitching $49 phone service. It wasn't about, can I save you $20 a month? It was about, listen, what would $1,000, what would $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month? Is that something you're interested in? Now, you may not want to pitch that to everybody, right? Because if somebody's making $500, you know, a week or, you know, something like that, they may not be able to see $20,000 a month. But Ryan, did we not have that conversation the first time we talked at First Watch? Was like the conversation. I mean, let me back up. Here's what I said. I asked Jose. I remember sending him an email, somewhat arrogantly, but at the same time, it was like, hey, listen, this is what I want to know. What's the most money I can make with Solavei per month? That was the question I had. I was like, look, because $200 a month doesn't excite me. You guys with me?
Yeah.
So he goes, well, you can make $37,500 in bonuses, and you can make $20,000 a month plus this and that. And so and of course, if you have more entities, you can make 20 and 40 and 60 and 80 and $100,000 a month. And those are the conversations that we're having. And Ryan, you and I have the conversation often. It's like it's this big picture thing of, okay, look, 20,000 is a pretty big goal of 20,000 a month, but not only getting there with 2,000 trios and all that, but it's like, man, that's not where we're stopping. I mean, for builders, for you guys that are on the call, Jason, Orlando, myself and Ryan, I mean, this isn't about $200 a month. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, I'm not sitting here on a Google Hangout at 11:30 in the morning trying to figure out how I can make $200 a month.
Right.
And here's the deal. There's enough of us that are on this call and people watching. If you've taken the time, if you've taken if you've taken the time to watch this, whether it's 2 in the morning or whatever, most likely you've got some drive to go, yeah, $200 a month is not my deal. That's not what I'm not sitting here for 500 or whatever. I mean, that's not going to change your life, but you start doing, some things that are significant. I know, Jason, you're starting to make some decent money with Solavei. I don't know about Orlando. And then people watching it. I mean, for me, what serves me well is continuously thinking about and knowing, gosh, this thing is growing every day, even if it's a small network, even if it's 20 people, 200, 2,000, whatever, it has the ability to grow every day. And anyway, so that's a long answer to your question, but that's the idea for me, is not this idea of, I mean, I want to create, and there's no question, I want to create thousandaires along the way, but and because the only way to get to some really, really significant money is to have thousands of people earning, thousands of dollars. So I don't know if that answers your question. I hope it does.
Chad, let me ask you this. What would you say are some of the thoughts that you say would be going through your mind on a pretty consistent basis as you are growing your Solavei network? What are you thinking about? And then based on what you're thinking about, what kind of activity does that drive you to do?
Well, I probably do it. I probably think a little bit different than some. That's a really good question. My process of thinking is, as much as I can, I'm thinking about attracting and allowing and manifesting, if I use those 3 words. So attracting, some people will say, well, that's kind of out there, or it's woo-woo, or it's, I don't know. It doesn't really matter what people say, to be honest with you. That's just what seems to work for me and my wife and building our business. I'm consistently thinking and believing that the right people are coming across our path every day. Now, am I suggesting that I don't doubt it sometimes? No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm not saying that at all. But as a like, hey, this is what my goal and end game of thinking is, it's always about, man, it's the right people are joining the network. Maybe they contact me, or maybe they contact somebody that's 100 people away from me in our network, or maybe it's in Puerto Rico, or maybe it's in somebody in Oklahoma City or California or wherever it is. So I'm very, very, very much not hung up on personal enrollment at all. Now, I understand that there are people who they don't agree with that philosophy, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. If the philosophy that you agree with and the strategy that you implement is working, then fantastic. Do that, use it, go for it, and let it serve you well. But my personal philosophy, as you know, Ryan, is, now I'm not opposed to personal enrollment. In fact, I've enrolled quite a few people. I honestly, I could not, if you told me you'd give me $1 million right now, I could not tell you how many people I've enrolled. I don't know the number. And I'm not saying because it's that many. I'm just saying because I don't keep track. It isn't like I know I've enrolled 38 people or 62 people. I just simply don't know. We just enroll people. We certainly use, especially in pre-launch and different things, we used a lot of, internet, what am I thinking, AdWords and things like that, which many people did. Some people are still doing. So my thought process is this is not a push for me. This is not a, when people feel like at an intuitive level, at a heart level, when you're talking to them over the computer like this, or when you're sitting with them or whatever, on the phone, whatever, people get when you need it. They get when it's not, what's the word, transparent, authentic, whatever that word is, they get it, right? They get when you're needy and when you have to have it and when you're trying to sell and close them and all those things. I mean, look, I've done closing and selling in my life and obviously still do. Everybody is in sales, even if they don't acknowledge it. But the reality is you can do that to where it benefits the person that you're talking to, or you can, do it to where you need this sale because it's going to finish that one trio. And if you haven't done your trio for, the week or the month or whatever, my thought process, to answer your question directly, is very much about, believing that I attract the right things, allowing that process to happen, not sitting around and doing nothing, but allowing it, and then manifesting it too. And I have the belief, and people can say what they want, I have the belief that things just work out for me. I mean, that doesn't mean that they always do, but it doesn't mean that I can't believe it anyway. Right. I mean, that's the key point for me, right? It's not like everything's a bowl of cherries and it's all perfect and all that, but I believe things work out. I believe that I'm led to go here and there, and talk to this person or whatever. And I mean, I just believe those things are true. Because think about the opposite side. What is the other alternative? I mean, the alternative is what? Things don't work out for you? That life's going to be hard for you? That, that you just, fell under, you always have slip and falls? And I mean, that's the alternative. People don't consciously think that way most of the time, but that's the reality. Look, you either believe things work or they don't. You either believe that you're lucky or you're not lucky. You either believe that you're led or you're not led. You either believe that you make good choices or you don't make good choices. And and of course the actions, the byproducts are self-fulfilling. And you go, well, yeah, I always screw up. And then guess what? Because the mind, the psyche, all of those things, right? They're there. I had it. I'm going to give it to you this way. The heart, or the heart is the best definition I can give you. Its only process, the subconscious, the only thing that it does is literally say, okay. That's all it does. So if you tell it, I'm stupid and I never do things right, then it says, okay, and it goes out and finds evidence for you. If you tell it, man, I'm lucky and things always seem to work out for me, it goes out and finds evidence that that's true. And this isn't made up. So, I mean, it's just how it works. So as people begin to fall into those habits, then the heart's job doesn't want to be contradictory. It doesn't want to say, hey, you tell yourself I'm foolish, I always get burnt in business deals, or I always lose money, or I always do whatever. The heart wants to make you congruent. It wants you to be at least congruent and in line with what you believe. And that's what's important. It doesn't want you to go, no, you're not. Its job isn't to say, make a judgment. Its job is to simply make true what you believe. So then the idea then becomes, okay, what do you believe? Well, yeah, I think these things are going to work for me. I think my network grows without me doing anything. There's one. There's a novel idea. There's one that leaders don't want to take on, right? I think that it's enjoyable or whatever. So, there's so many hours and days of material to go into, and I know we'll be doing more of these and talking about those things as we go, but it really is a shift in thinking, a shift in belief, and then the actions begin. Here's the deal. I've got this written. I'll put it up here. You want to write it down, you can. This is a really good cycle for how thinking affects everything. So let me put this up, and you can see it. It may be backward. So if it's backward, just take a screenshot or whatever, and then I'll go through it a little bit. So it's belief, and then I can't really see it, but anyway, take your screenshot and then I'll walk through it, right? Hopefully it was up there long enough, right? So you start in the bottom left-hand corner, it's belief, and then you go up to potential, and then you go over to action, and then down to results, and then back to belief. And so what happens for people is it's self-fulfilling. If we can do it, you start here, belief, for me, now I know it's backward on the screen, but belief, potential, action, results, and then it's just this vicious cycle back and forth consistently. What happens if people believe that they're screw-ups, that nothing works? You know, the question then becomes, well, how much potential does everybody have? Like, do some people have more potential? Do some people have less? I mean, if you get down to it, most people have the same amount of potential, right? They may not be born in the same place, but they have it. Then what you believe here, then you look at, well, that affects your potential, how much you believe you have. That affects your action. You go out and take the wrong action. You go out and take no action. You go out and take misguided action. Guess what? You get poor results. And this is the key one. You get poor results, and then that drives your belief that, wow, Ryan, you talk about it all the time, right? I've done one of these things before and it didn't work. Isn't that what you talk about, Ryan?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what people will say. I've done something like that. You bought product, you stocked your garage, you had to sell on the street or whatever. So you're like, yeah, that's the belief. I've done one of these. So then your potential you think is pretty low because you've done this, it didn't work. You go out, you don't take the right action. Maybe you take a lot of action, but it's not accurate, or you don't take much. Then you get what? Guess what? You get piss poor results. And then guess what happens when you get piss poor results? Then that drives your belief. See, I told you these things don't work. See? And you stay in this thing right here. Yeah, I told you. And then what happens is when you say I told you it didn't work, you go, yeah, I don't have, then you really think it's not going to work. Guess what? Then you drive the action, which drives the result again, and it just consistently goes. But the converse is true too. Right? If you believe it does, if you believe you have potential, that people are drawn to you, if you believe that you're led to take the right action, open the right store in the right place, go talk to the right people at the right time, then you start to have better results, even if it's not perfect. And then guess what? The results bleed over into your belief. And you go, wow, I've got 100 people in my network. This thing could work. Or how about this? Even if you're not seeing the results, this is why it's so important to talk to people who are having results. You talk to Ryan Lelf. You talk to Jose Miranda. Let me ask you a question. Jose Miranda is at the executive 3 level. Okay? That's his result. His result is executive 3. Okay? That's what he is. Let me tell you what. That drives his belief massively. That drives his belief. You and I can have a conversation with him about, hey, Jose, guess what? Jason, you still on here with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, we can sit down right now. We can go to lunch with Jose here in Tulsa today. Sit down with him and go, hey, listen, that networking, that social commerce deal, that deal doesn't work. I've seen people fail at it. Guess what he's got? He's got a massive amount of results in his life to prove it may not work for you or the way you're doing it, the way I'm doing it, the way Ryan is. But let me tell you something. I have results. And he's got the results of executive 3. He's got the paycheck. He's got the stuff. Guess what? His belief level is raised through the roof. Through the roof. Then guess what? Then his potential goes up. Then he takes the correct action, and on it goes. So if you don't have the results that you want, if we don't, right? I've got great results with Solavei. It's working amazingly well. It's different, looks different than I thought. But it's going, and I say that so that if some of you watching this, right, whether it's the folks that are on here live or the folks that watch it later, then look, hear other people's results, look at what they've done, of course, and be able to raise your belief from those things. But I think to Ryan's point that we talk about often is a lot of times you may not get the full story, right? A lot of times you'll go, enroll the checkout girl at the grocery store, do all this stuff, all the stuff that we hear, when the reality is it may be a little bit different. So that's one of the things that I've seen to be a really good cycle of, look, changing the belief changes then everything. And Ryan, your videos, you do them all the time talking about belief. And it's the truth. Look, it's not everything, right? Nobody here on this call or that you talk to in Solavei, welcome back, by the way, Orlando. Nobody's here telling you that belief is that belief without action will get it done. Nobody's suggesting that at all. But what we are suggesting is that's the thing at the baseline that's gotta be correct moving forward for you to for people to succeed. If that makes sense a little bit, Ryan.
Yeah, here's my next question, and then I want Orlando and Jason both to have an opportunity to ask you a question as well. Talk a little bit about compensation. And let me tell you where my question is being derived. I feel like even some people who have some decent sized networks, I don't know that maybe, and maybe we haven't done a good enough job, Shad, but we have a few people in our network. We have one that has over 500 people in his network. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really understand compensation, and he's only making like $170 a month.
Okay.
And I think it's really unfortunate that anybody would be, that large or would put in the kind of effort and energy that, we have lots of people who even have over 100 and they're not even anywhere near $1,000 a month. And I think sometimes it's simply been a lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge, and a lack of realizing that there is a little bit of strategy on how to maximize the compensation. So why don't you dive in real quick and talk about, first of all, the importance of studying it. And if you are listening to this call and you can't figure it out, well, it would probably be pretty important to get with someone who does have it figured out. I guarantee you know it inside and out, Shad, or your wife does for sure. Because it matters. Come on, we don't have to be the super false humility crap about, oh, we're really not here to make money. No, we are all here to make money. We are, period. So dive in, help us out, give us some thoughts around why compensation and understanding it and how to maximize it is so important.
Good. I'm glad you asked that question because there are a lot of things that I don't know about, and I will happily admit when it comes to Solavei. Ryan, you know this is true. A lot of times I'll be like, what is the title of that one that makes 1,000? What's the title of the, I'm serious, right? I'm like, I forget. Here's what I know. What I know is the income that goes with the title. I don't know the title, whatever, and I'm getting better at it, but it's irrelevant. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm at the 2,000. I'm at this entity's at 1, and this one's at 1, and this one's at 2, and whatever. But I don't want to. I want to be clear. I do know the compensation plan. I do know it well. My wife and I both studied it, looked at it. It is one thing. I may not know it as good as best in the world, but it is something that is very, very important. So I have looked at it, and to the best of my ability, we are maximizing it. We're doing a great job with it, and I'd love to be able to make sure that any of you watching this video can maximize it as well. It would probably be, here, let me just say this first of all. Wherever you're at and whatever your structure looks like, unless you've just got one entity, if you've got one, and maybe that's what you have your one phone line, fantastic. There's not a lot of technical, there is some technical that can go with that. There is some strategy, it's a good word, but if you've got one entity, there's some strategy on maybe placing people certain places and completing trios. But more to the point, if you've got more than that, if you've got one entity that is enrolled, maybe your spouse and then your children or whatever, however those are laid out, what I will categorically, emphatically suggest is that building the bottom, whatever the bottom looks like for you, building the bottom entity, even if you haven't up until right now, right? Even if you haven't up until today, you want to begin to look at, unless you're really close on one entity and maybe you've got a few more people and it'll promote to the $1,000 level or the 2,000 or whatever the level, start building the bottom entity. believe me when I tell you there is massive benefit. Now, for those of you that don't have the sheet in front of you, or you may not know what the compensation and the path may look like, you're going to want to build the bottom entity as much as possible. Don't beat yourself up if you haven't. Don't, if you got, if you didn't get the right advice, or you talked to somebody who didn't know, or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Here we sit, right, in February 15th. This is what is. So now it's like, okay, now what do? Well, now what you do is build the bottom. So if you have two entities, your wife, say it's your wife and then you, or it's you and your wife, or you and your kids, or three entities, whatever. Just as at the simplest level, start building the bottom one. That's what I'll tell you is key number one. Build the bottom. The reason for that is because a large portion of what you do on the bottom rolls up for free to the other entities. So it is simply, all it is simply looking at what the rule, like I remember one of my mentors always telling me is, listen, whenever you start to play a game, what's key number one? Whenever you play a game, what is key number one? Key number one is to win the game. What are the keys? The key number one is know the rules. You have to know the rules, right? It's not bad, it's not good, it's not anything. It's just what are the rules. If you know the rules, then you can have a better chance at winning the game. So in this context, you've got to know the rules. What the rules are, the compensation that's put in place. The rules are, look, these things happen. They're there for a reason. They're there for us to maximize if we want to. So key number one, build the bottom. I mean, there's all kinds of other things that you can look at, but it'd probably be better to talk specifically about people's questions and kind of go work through it. But let me I will tell you, I've got people. Your example, Ryan, 400 or 500 people in somebody's network that they're not even making 1,000, and then there's other people that they've got between 60 and 80 people and they're making 1,000. What's the difference? Well, the difference is, for the most part, they knew how to structure it, they knew how to place, but even more than that, they had a funnel of people. They had a store. They had an online marketing campaign. They had something to where they had people coming directly to them, and then they could choose where to place them. They could choose with John and Sally and George and whatever. All these different people were coming, and they could go, okay, you're going to be here, here, here. Okay, that one's perfect. Now we're going to put you up here. Now we're going to do this. They could do that. It's harder to do that when you don't have a full when you don't have a flowing group of people that are coming at you, whether it's with a store, whether it's online, whether it's you sitting down with people constantly, whatever your approach is. I'm not here to promote a approach. I'm not. I'm not here. Whatever your approach is, I say go do it. There are approaches that are better than others, right? Or better may not be the right word. There are approaches that are maybe more effective than others, right? You can go stand out on the street corner and try to recruit people. That's one approach. You can invest $25,000 and put a retail store up. That's one approach. You can put, like Jason, you can put a kiosk up. You can do online advertising. You can talk to people in person, sit down and have lunch with them. There are all kind of approaches. The question is, what do you want to do? What can you afford to do? And which one do you feel comfortable with? That's the question. Which one are you comfortable, authentic, and do people get it from you? That's the deal. If you feel comfortable out on the street recruiting the checkout person at the grocery store, fantastic, have at it. Let me tell you, that's not where I feel comfortable. It's not my approach. It's just not. I mean, if you do it, great. I don't have any judgment around it, but it's not my approach.
Well, Shad,
yeah, go ahead, Jason.
One thing before even if, regardless if someone has a huge flowing mechanism of customers or they're doing it by onesies, I can tell you from personal experience and people in my network that understanding how you get paid is critical, because there's a motivation and a drive in that. If you're doing all of this work and you're not receiving compensation or what you perceive as a fair compensation for that work, even a person who has high belief, that belief will erode. Even a person who has the skill and ability and the network of people, they will choose something else. So that's one thing where I've had some people that came in and they were signing up and recruiting a good number of people, but they weren't seeing an income. And I'm going to take, I'll take blame, because in the beginning I didn't personally understand the comp plan and exactly strategically how to do it. And it's also why I have 400 people in my network, and I'm not maximizing the comp plan. But in that, I have people that have 50 and 60 people, and they're not maximizing the comp plan either, because I wasn't, I didn't effectively communicate that to them. So that's one thing that someone has to learn from the very beginning, is how you get paid on this, so that they can, that serves as its own, because you were talking about self-fulfilling, that serves as that driving mechanism for them, because as they inch closer to that next rank up or that next payday, they have a clear understanding of what they need to do and the work that needs to be, that needs to be put in place so that they can receive the compensation for it. Otherwise, if they do all this work and then they look back and they're wondering why then I get paid, a lot of people get discouraged. So, I mean, that was, that's one thing. Make sure your people know that up front.
It's a great point. It really is something that I think most of us, I know myself included, did not understand it fully. So, Jason, it's not anything you weren't. I think you were among many people that we didn't fully get it. Explaining the lag time, it's very important. Explaining that, listen, and this goes to what Ryan you mentioned a lot in our conversations, is having a, not running from the truth, but simply sharing it truthfully and saying, look, this is the reality. There is most likely, in a best case scenario, when you enroll somebody and get some trios enrolled, you're looking at just about 90 days.
Yes.
Before you see payment on that. Now, when people understand it, to your point, Jason, when people understand it, they, most people go, okay, you're great. Again, it goes back to, right, what are the rules so I can understand the rules of the game so I can win? So that's the key part is, look, this is, because none of us got it. None of us understood it. And it wasn't malicious or anybody was trying to trick anybody. Nobody's suggesting that from anybody. All it was people just, it was new. It was in pre-launch. Nobody got it. They didn't understand the process.
We were excited.
Everybody was excited. So it's a great point, Jason, to be able to explain to people, yes, absolutely. Look, it's going to be a 90-day lag. That's probably a pretty accurate statement. It's about a 90-day lag when you get some folks formed in your network and that you should start seeing some income from it. Now, the good part about a lag is that you're going to, this is how you explain it one way. It's like, look, a lag is bad short term. You got to wait 90 days. But the cool part about a lag is once you have a lag, it's like stored up money. It's like stored up things that are waiting for you. And then guess what? As you go down the road, you're getting paid from that lag, and you're continuously getting that lag starting to catch up to you. So that's the upside to the lag. The downside is it's out a ways, but the upside to the lag is you're delaying it, and then it starts to come in as you've been growing that, if that makes sense. That's part of how I like to think about that lag that's been kind of built. It's because it's definitely there. And you're right, man. You get people that come in and they're excited and they go recruit a bunch of people, and then they're going, man, this is 2 weeks later and I'm not got paid. Or it's 45 days later and they're not seeing the results, right? Back to that thing that we talked about, the results. The result looks different than they thought. Is it right? It looks different. They need to make sure, and oh, by the way, you haven't got it, you got a few hundred people and it wasn't, there's all these people that aren't in trios.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody knew that. Look, we talk about it all the time. Nobody knew exactly what it was going to look like, but you start looking at it and everybody just needs to understand. There are exceptions, but for the most part, somewhere between 30 to 45% of people are in trios. Now, I'm not saying anything that's just not factually true, right? That's just what is. There's somewhere between 30 to 45% of people, as a general rule, that are in trios. That means
that through coaching.
Absolutely. I mean, what that means is we can do two things, right? We can either do great. So let's see if in our networks, as we talk and coach the people, let's see how we can get that number higher, right? I mean, nothing wrong with trying to get those numbers to 50, 60, 70%. Now, am I saying that that'll work? No. Am I saying that it's guaranteed? No. But we can do that. We can go, hey, listen, you know, if 35, 40% of my people are in trios, so you just have to know, I either have to do two things. I got to have more people, or I got to get more people in trios. That's it.
Hey, question for you. You say you're signing up a new business builder. Oh, Chad left.
Oh, wow. We lost him.
Oh, there you go.
There. Hey, Jason.
Oh, there's Chad. He's back. Hey, buddy. He's back.
We can't hear you, though, Shad. We see you, but we can't hear you.
How about
Hey, go to your toolbar on the top.
Oh, now we can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hey, Shad, I have a question for you. Walk me through. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You're signing up a new business builder. Walk me through those first initial steps that you take with them as far as, okay, you're signed up. I am now going to build a team. You know, what are those things that you're telling them and coaching them to do? What expectations are you setting, and kind of a plan of action for that person that you're, I mean, obviously you're having success, so I'd like to know, okay, as far as the coaching standpoint, what are those key things that you're you know, highlighting to that person to get them going?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good question. So you're talking about, I think in your question it was like, this is a builder, this is somebody who potentially sees, they're not just a phone user, but somebody who does that. Here's my expectation, and again, this is probably counterintuitive, but again, it's what serves me. I don't put an expectation on them. Now, what I mean is, and it may not have been what you meant, so but hear me.
I wasn't talking expectation. I was referring to as more like a, you've said you're coaching them and giving them a plan of action. Whether they do it or not is up to them, but you're pointing them, what direction are you pointing them on and saying, here are the steps that you need to be working on? Yeah,
great. Okay, perfect. So my expectation is that I will, and what I'm trying to give them a roadmap for is, listen, I will help and input and do whatever. And I've told people this from the very, very beginning. And some people do it, but very few do. And I think Ryan has done this quite a bit as well. And I'm like, listen, you don't know Solavei yet. You don't understand the comp plan. You don't get any of those things that I get to some degree, because I've simply been here for 6, 7 months or whatever the time period is. So what I'm offering to you, if you want to use it, what I'm offering is, when you have somebody that you want to talk to, I'm in Tulsa and you're in Denver, Colorado, or wherever you are, I am willing to work for you for free until I'm not willing to. So what I mean is, until my phone, until my life, until my schedule is such that I simply don't have time, and I will let you know very clearly when that is, I will work for you for free and build your business. Now that's something people can get around. I mean, sure. But hear me. It's amazing how many people that I offer that to. They know I'm having success. They know that I've done life coaching. They know that I've done all of the personal growth seminars and I can do trainings and all of those things. And they go, man, if we could have you in our network, it would be amazing, or whatever it is that they make up, right? And I'm sitting there going, listen, I will be essentially your employee for free. If you want me to, I'll do phone calls, I'll do webinar stuff, I'll do Google Hangout, I'll do those things. And again, don't hear me. I'm not saying that I'm saying, look, I'm going to be your slave, and at 11:30 at night I'm going to do it. I schedule my life around it, and I'm saying I am open. If it works for me in my schedule, I will do it for you. And here's the secret: most of the time, if they ask and make something happen, I've got my life tailored in such a way that I'm like, sure, I'll do it. The other day I was on a call at 10 o'clock at night, no problem. My kids were in bed. I did basketball practice with them. And so you don't have to be running with your head cut off. You just simply, for me, so I offer those things. Here's what I don't do. What I do not do, and I will not do, is go, hey, Jason, great. So glad you're a part of Solavei. I know you're excited about it. Here is what you need to do. I don't do that. There are other people who do that. There are leaders who build successful businesses. And when I say successful, they've got numbers and they're earning. That's success for them. And they go, listen, you're new, Jason, so here's what we're going to do. You need to have a trio a week. You need to have a person a day. You need to have XYZ. You need to do a meeting. You need to do this. This is what you need to do. I don't do any of those things. Because, listen, you cannot tell somebody else what their intention is. Now, you can get compliance out of people. They can want to make you feel good. They can not want to hurt your feelings, or you're a big shot, Jason, so you enrolled them, so now they're going to tell you what you want to hear. Doesn't mean they're going to produce. I don't waste my time with it. I let them, it's like the word education comes from the word educo, which means to draw out, right? The best teachers are the ones who draw out, right, from people. They're not the ones who give you the answer. Right, you're asking me for a specific answer, and I'm giving it to you, but I'm not sitting here going, hey, Jason and Orlando and Ryan, this is what you need to do, and everybody watching this, this is it. No, I let people play where they want to play. That's what I do. If it's a lot, they want to be real interactive, fantastic. If it's a little bit, great. I will send out things occasionally, stay in touch texting, building connection with people, making sure that they understand that I care about them, that I care about their success, that hey, if there's anything I can do, can I assist, can I whatever, but I don't press my expectation on them because you want to know why, the real reason? I absolutely categorically don't want somebody pressing their expectation on me. That doesn't work for me, and it probably doesn't work for you. But what's so funny is leaders by default, for the most part, that's what they do. Like, hey, listen, we're having a conference call this week. We're having this. We're doing this. We're doing this. We're doing this one. We're doing this thing. All this other stuff. It's like, and then there's this expectation that you need to be on it. There's no expectation. Look, your life. The people that you're enrolling, their life, their business, their finances, their family, their physical health. It's their stuff. And so I hold people, not accountable, but I hold them capable, right? I hold them capable. And, I'm sure there's other times where occasionally, but I mean, you talk to people in our network, you talk to Ryan, you can talk to everybody else that I personally enrolled. I mean, there may have been an exception, that I can't think of it, when I called somebody and said, hey, listen, what have you done this week? And let's walk through your accountability and let's make sure you're making this thing happen. And look, look, I am smart enough to say that I don't have it all figured out. I mean that. I don't have it all figured out. It's just what approach works for me. So as builders are coming on, I gauge quickly how their interaction level is, and then I tailor my approach to that. That's probably a summary of what it is.
Orlando, are you there, buddy? Orlando, are you there?
Can you hear me still, Ryan, Jason?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, I've got maybe 5 minutes left. I've got somewhere I've got to be in just a minute.
Orlando, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, buddy, I want to give you an opportunity to ask a question to Shad. Go ahead.
No, man, I have any kind of question. I'm learning a lot. I'm taking notes. Really, I'm taking notes, man. I don't have anything to ask.
We're glad you're a part of Solavei down there in Puerto Rico. Welcome, and we're excited for you.
Chad, he's got over 150 people in his network.
That's amazing. Amazing.
He was my translator when I was over there doing meetings. He's a great leader, great leader.
That's phenomenal. That's
Thank
really
you very much.
We're excited that you took the time to get to hang out with us. I
Shad,
tell you
why
what,
don't you, Shad, why don't you do this? Why don't you just take this last 2 or 3 minutes? If you only had 2 or 3 minutes to have anybody who possibly is ever going to watch this, and for us here on the call and the hangout today, I mean, what impression do you want us to leave with? What do we need to have going on in our minds and our hearts that you believe could serve us well the most and give us the greatest opportunity to start seeing even more momentum in our networks?
okay, let me go with this. I'm going to go with my Jason. I'm guessing that you have one more thing that you want to ask or say, so I'm just going to go with that, and then I'll answer. I'll say exactly what it is you want, Ryan, as well. Jason, did that answer your question? And how else can I or we serve you in this process?
Yes, that did answer my question. I get it. You let them come to you first, and then you gauge those next steps depending on how they approach you. That was very helpful. So,
well, and it's not right. It isn't. I don't want to give the wrong impression that I'm all just laissez-faire, okay? Because that's not, totally. It's not just about that. Say hi to Kim for me. It's not just about that, but it is from a beingness sense, right? From a beingness, from a how are you going to interact? From your outer world reflects your inner world. All those different ideas. I mean, I believe in that very, very, very much. I've been taught that, and it is. I just really feel like that's how people respond the best, is when you let them. And look, is there a time when people can be pushed? I don't even like the word pushed, but is there a time when you see greatness in somebody and you can help kind of excavate that greatness out of them? Absolutely, right? I'm not suggesting that it's always, okay, come to me, and if you don't, then that's it. But for the most part, that's the sense, is just that idea. And what happens is, even in your going to them, it's not you going to them with an expectation. It's not you going to them with it's almost, it maybe, a bit like in a spousal relationship or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. It's not this going to them with this expectation. It's like you're allowing these things to happen, if that makes sense. So to answer your question, Ryan, very quickly, and hopefully you guys can, this has been beneficial for me, just in talking through it and all that. It's really shifting a way of thinking. If you've already had it, great. If you haven't, then it's a shift, and it's a constant shift for me. I know for others, for Ryan, whatever, it's never having an idea of arrival. It's never having an idea of that somebody has the answers. It's never going, okay, that's the silver bullet. When I get that technique, or I listen to this person, they're going to figure it out for me. It really isn't that. It's more, for me, it's more about having a correct belief in myself and going, you know what, I am, it's the Stuart Smalley, right? What is the Saturday Night Live, right? I am good enough, I'm strong enough, and people like me, to a really, on a some level, there's some of that, right? Where it's just, look, I know what this is. The product is so irrelevant in this conversation. Well, how much of we, I mentioned the phone because I really love it, and I do, and I don't make any money to promote Google's phone, but I love it. But look, the product is so flippant irrelevant because it's so obvious that it's like, okay, the product, that's out of the, looks like product out of the way. Like, set that aside, right? So what is it that you want to be left with? Look, we've got, Jason, you do, Ryan, I don't know about Orlando, but myself, we've now got this residual income, whether it's 500 or 7,000 or whatever the number is, we've now got this thing built. And for the most part, I know myself and others, there's a lot of ways to build this, Jason. There's a lot of ways to build this, Ryan. There are people in internet marketing that are doing amazing. There are people who sit with people. There's people. There's a lot of different ways to do it. My question for anybody watching this that wants to build Solavei is, which way do you want to do? What works for you the best? How is it you want to be involved in this? That's the key thing. It's asking questions more and giving less answers. I mean, I know this today, I've talked the majority of the time, and that was kind of the setup for this. But in reality, it's asking more questions, listening more, saying less. It's feeling people at an emotional gut level. It's getting people at that gut level and knowing just exactly what to say. What do you say all the time, Ryan, right, that you got from A.L. Williams, right? When the belief is correct, you just say the right thing. It's not exactly, but it's something like that.
Basically, he said, if you believe it in your heart, it'll just come out right.
And that's my approach. That's our approach. And I hope that helps. Let's do another one of these. I've got to run, gentlemen. I'm glad that we got to take time. It's my privilege to get to hang out with you guys today.
See y'all.